Welcome into the CHGO White Sox Podcast. On today's show, we will be previewing the winter meetings. Where will Juan Soto sign? Not Chicago. Where will Garrett Crochet be traded and when? And will the White Sox do anything else here on the CHGO White Sox Podcast? Heyo, welcome into the CHGO White Sox Podcast, coming to you live from Studio Home here in Chicago. I guess some of us are in the West Loop. I don't even think any of us are in the West Loop. I really am just thrown off. We do this every Friday. I should be used to this. I'm Sean Anderson, your CHGO White Sox host. Alongside me, Vinnie Duber, our CHGO White Sox beat writer, and the man in the middle, Herb Lawrence.
Hello.
CHGO White Sox community leader. Man, I am really off. Lawrence, are we all good? Did the show break?
Once again, you know, the music in the StreamYard thing is just goofy, and it instead of starting over, it decided to just pick up from the last time I tested it. So that was cool. I am in the West Loop. So, you know, hooray
for factual.
Yeah.
Yes, hooray for you, consummate professional Lawrence Benedetto, producing our show today. We are excited to preview the winter meetings. Vinny and his nice mustache will be down in Dallas, right?
That is correct.
The other one was in San Antonio. So now the fact that they're both in Texas, that's confusing the hell.
The old Texas two-step, Sean.
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, Rob Manfred. That's in the playbook. We are going to be previewing where Juan Soto will sign, for how much, and when. We will also be discussing Garrett Crochet. Where will he be traded, and will it be within the next week? And then finally, we'll wrap it up, and we'll talk a little bit about Erick Fedde, and will the White Sox pull an Erick Fedde? Is that in Chris Getz's playbook? Will he now run an Erick Fedde move? I even have a KBO pitcher to bring to you, because maybe we'll be interested. Hit that like button and make sure you're subscribing. We're doing good, Clyde. How are you doing? And again, hit that thumbs up button. Subscribe. We have a ton of content for Chicago sports fans out there. We had an emergency podcast for the firing of Luke Richardson right as our show started yesterday. We are here Monday through Friday, live at 4 p.m. All right, Vinny, as another consummate professional, I would describe Herb as a consummate professional. I work with consummate professionals. Would you trust the son of a major league manager on TikTok if he's saying Juan Soto is going to get 15 years, $700 million? Because Adrian Mendoza, the child of Carlos Mendoza, is out here filming catch with Francisco Lindor and in TikTok comments saying 15 and 700 for Soto. So do we trust a child?
Oh man, this is not something they taught me in journalism school. What was that, 10 years ago at this? Almost 15 years
never
ago.
Discussed age.
Point. No, we didn't. The TikTok wasn't even a thing then. We didn't have a class on TikTok reporting. As you can tell by the way I'm pronouncing TikTok, I'm too old for TikTok, so I don't even know where to begin with that. But he's going to make a whole heck of a lot of money, that's for sure. We'll see exactly how long it is for, but this guy is this kind of a free agent because of his age, right? He is hitting free agency a little bit younger than a lot of other major stars have done. And so he's going to get a very long deal and a very rich deal because of how much longer a team will be able to have him in his prime. So I think it's going to be, I mean, we know that it's well over 600 at this point, but it could get toward that Ohtani number. I just think that Ohtani is, you get two things. Juan Soto doesn't give you two things. So I would think that it would stay under that. But as I always say on the show, free agent contracts do not go down. They only go up. So the records are meant to be broken when it comes to the value of these ridiculously gigantic free agent contracts in Major League Baseball.
Just think about last year when he was in his last year of arbitration and he made $31 million. That's a lot of money. Like, you think as Vinny said, he's not going to go down from there. And the 700 for 15 years is only $47 million. And I know you're balking at that, but they paid that to Max Scherzer. He paid like $43 million at the end of his career. He was in his 40s. This man is 26. Let me tell you the players that have put up similarity scores to Juan Soto by age 25 and see if these guys are any good. 10, Vladimir Guerrero Jr.
Bad.
Decent. Orlando Cepeda, Hall
Bad.
of Famer. Mickey Mantle.
Washed.
Miguel Cabrera, future Hall of Famer. Eddie
Steroids.
Matthews, Hall of Famer. Andrew Jones, should be a Hall of Famer. Mike Nelson Trout,
Bad.
future Hall of Famer. George Kenneth Griffey Jr.,
White Sox
Hall of
Sox
Famer.
legend.
Exactly. Frank Robinson, Hall of Famer. And Bryce Harper, future Hall of Famer. I mean,
Future White Sox.
pay him $47 million a year. Please, Jesus. If that's it? That's all? What? Yes. What are we discussing?
So what's the number if you do 47 times 15? What are you thinking? 15 years, Herb?
That's 15 years. That's 15 years of service. So he's 26. He'll be, 41 at the end of it.
So
Not
you're offering him $705 million. Would you offer? Does it have to be 47 a year? Or can you go down to 5 million? Is that disrespectful? Did you do 15,705 right now? I mean, I like the way that Boris is running this. I think he's likely disappointed with last year's result. It took so long to get many deals done, and not a lot of extensive deals. Matt Chapman had to wait until August to get an extension with the 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 extension.
That remixed a little bit.
John, you skipped. You had to skip. You had to skip record.
I muted it. Let's see if we unmute and see what happens here.
That was cool though. You're like Ashley Simpson.
Oh, I can't
SNL.
unmute. Now I can't unmute his mic. His mic isn't connected.
I think I'm back.
There we go.
But I think my mic just unplugged. I have no idea what mic I'm talking about.
It must be a Friday because Sean is having issues with his microphone.
We have now lost. We have lost our entire remote privileges with this show alone. It has been a great 7 minutes right there. So I think I can hear it.
That's a clip though.
Oh, great.
What
we want.
I'm gonna make a clip of that. Now we can't hear Vinny.
Yeah, I can't hear Vinny. What's going on?
What'd you do, huh?
There we go.
Okay, there we go. What the hell?
I did not do anything.
All right. So I don't think this podcast is getting 700 million, which is fine. I don't think that it's really deserved. But yeah, you got Juan Soto making 705 million. And there was a question on Baseball Reddit being like, why is he making this much money? And it's just the age. I mean, you talked about all the players that, have come along him and have made that such an impact at 26. The other player I'm thinking of is Alexander Rodriguez. I don't know why I used his full name, but him getting that historic contract with the Texas Rangers, that was, earth-shattering money. And I was just a young boy. Now I'm a man with a beard and who's bald. So, now so much time has passed that it makes sense that the numbers are getting more and more astronomical. The point with Ohtani, though, too, is like he was 3 years older and there's some more injury risk. And I think it's fair now that we've seen his impact that he probably could have gotten more money. Also, I think it just might have been, we are now, I think, 300 more million than the record it was before. I think Trout's was 365 or something like that. So, I mean, it was a huge jump from the previous record contract. But still, I don't think that we're going to see $700 million contracts after Soto. I think it's going to have to be perfect circumstances like two-way video game, like player 50-50 season, Shohei Ohtani, 3-time unanimous MVP. And then Juan Soto, you're getting him in the prime where I think when Judge signed his $325 million deal, he's 30 years old. Again, Soto, you have 4 more years until he hits that part. And he's already put up such an amazing career, 7 years already. So it's just mainly the perfect circumstances of two-way God and 26-year-old Ted Williams. So it's a pretty fun time to be a baseball fan. And you're actually going to see some action because, I mean, from all the rumors that are coming out, it sounds like it's possible it might be signed today. It could be signed tomorrow. It could be signed Sunday. And probably at the latest, Monday, because Scott Boras has a meeting, and I don't think he wants to go up to that podium being like, no, we don't have a deal, because it seems like they are very actively saying, give us your best offer. Let's move this along. And if you don't have the best offer, you're not getting the best player, period. I'm excited about that.
And I think that Scott Boras says, you said in the preamble right there, that he heard from his players, and his players don't want to be like Blake Snell was last year. And like you put up Matt Chapman, where they're having to wait so long for a contract, and then their season is affected by that. They want to have their Christmas all settled and be cool, knowing where they're going to be. And actually, if the deals are not going to be changing that much substantially, that much from December till January, why am I waiting? And why am I sitting out here just costing myself money and costing myself some time? Because we could sell when Blake Snell started pitching last year. He was not that guy. Same thing with Jordan Montgomery, who signed with the Arizona Diamondbacks late. I'm sure his players went to him and said, hey, man, I love you as my client because you get their players the most money, but get us some surety. And like you were just saying, like, he probably put a deadline for these teams to get your final and best offer on the table so my guy can sign and be done with it. I know it was his MO to just let the market settle and do whatever he needs to, but that didn't work last year. Owners waited him out, and I think that now he's changing up some things right there. That's probably goes well with Dylan Cease and what he's going to be looking for next year. Same thing with Luis Robert in a couple of years from now.
Every offseason, the market is different, right? And I mean, this is one that is moving a lot faster already than the one last year. Last year, we were sitting on our hands, twiddling our thumbs. I don't know if you can do those things at the same time, but that's what we were doing for months until don't try that at home, Sean.
I'm gonna try my toes. I think I can't sit in my hands and twiddle my toes, but maybe my big toes.
The
I
Cubs
can't
guys
get
wanted
this
to
on
twiddle
camera,
each
but I
other's
am
thumbs.
doing it.
The point being that we were sitting around
We lose,
trying to
Vinny?
kill some time. How are we losing? Why are we losing me? We're not losing me.
No, Vinny's here. You're probably just...
It's Sean's 360p internet that he has. It's terrible.
Sean's
got
got
the
Netscape
AOL,
Navigator.
the AOL.
Yeah, you need a new
chunking
CD,
noises.
Sean.
I don't want to interrupt because it's fine now, but there was some latency. I'm sorry, Law. My connection seems fine. My wife's probably downloading a car.
That's
Were you done with your
talent.
point?
Actual car? I know you can print things on computers, but a car? Damn, that's pretty good.
Yeah. Were you done with your point, Vinny?
Sure.
Okay, great. This is going swell. We're about to drive all to the West Loop. Anyways, we are going to just have one more comment here from Jay Corona, 984, saying, how much deferred money do you think Soto is going to take? I don't think it's going to be a deferred deal. I think the whole point with the Dodgers is they have so many people they're paying $300 million to. He's only making $2 million Soto or last year, like per year on an AAV basis. I think you can pay Soto $45 million if you are a competitive team, because the Dodgers really are only this team in this atmospheric level. Maybe the Yankees with some deferred money, but that's probably if they're giving him like over 700 million. I mean, you could probably get a deal done for $675 million for 15 years. That's $45 million a year. I think you could just do that non-deferred. I think that's what's going to happen, and I think it's going to be the Mets. That's my prediction. What do you guys think?
I'm thinking that, yeah, the Mets have the most money and the availability to sign him and the willingness and want to sign him. And with Soto, just like with Ohtani, yes, Ohtani has another skill, but they signed him to be the bat. And the fielding stuff, that's secondary. And that's what Soto will be. He'll be playing right field, but his main thing is in the lineup, hitting home runs and getting on base. And so I think the Mets and Steve Cohen will not be outbid, and they'll give him what he wants and stay in the Big Apple there, but on the Flushing side.
I still think it's the Yankees. They need him too much. I think they have to pull out every possible stop. I understand that they already have an MVP caliber bat in their lineup, but they need to keep that thing going, to keep the momentum going. You lose a World Series in most cities, and it is a heck of a season. You lose a World Series when you're the New York Yankees, you have fallen short. They haven't won one since 2009, since before I even finished college 15 years ago. So I think it's something that the Yankees have to do. They have to figure out a way to keep Juan Soto in pinstripes.
When is this done? Do we feel like this is done today, Saturday, Sunday, by Monday? What do we think?
I think it'll be done by the end of the winter meetings for sure.
I think he's going to be signed before you guys hit the winter meetings on Monday's the beginning. So I think it's going to be done before Monday.
I agree with Herb. I think he wants to go rap and rhyme with no worries about Juan Soto's numbers in his head. I think he wants to be proudly wearing a New York Mets hat or, New York Yankees hat. Could he even do that? Probably not. But I think Scott Boras will likely, maybe they will give him his own hat. Juan Soto will get the jersey and his hat, and then Scott Boras will also get his hat. I think it'd be nice. But yeah,
maybe he gets the Mr. Met hat
before. Ooh, I'd pay so much money for that. All right. Anyways, that's going to do it for the Juan Soto talk. We're going to take a break here on the CHGO White Sox podcast. We want to let you know about our friends over at Circa. Our friends over at Circa Sportsbook run this beautiful casino and resort, and that's why they're the most trusted in the sports betting app world. Whether it's pro or college, the app to bet football is Circa Sports Illinois. Circa Sports, it's sports betting the way it should be. They have high betting limits, low holds, and exceptional customer service. Again, the people that run the resort and casino in Las Vegas run this sportsbook. You will never have to talk to a chatbot. You will talk to a real person if you do run into issues with Circa, but you probably won't. You're probably going to have all the markets you want there because it's the world's largest sports book at your fingertips. Bet on all your favorite teams in every game this season, whether it's spreads, props, futures, or in-game wagering, Circa has it. Fund and bet like a pro from anywhere, anytime in Illinois with our friends at Circa Sportsbook. Download your new bookie today at circasports.com. Must be 21 plus or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
With Empire Today, you get shop at home convenience, the right product for your needs, quick and professional installation, and a low price guarantee. Empire Today is the best place to get new flooring, so of course they have copycats, but Empire can't be beaten on quality, service, or speed, so competitors advertise low quality products that Empire simply won't carry. Empire won't promise the lowest prices because anyone who does that is putting flooring in your home that they would not put in theirs. Empire keeps shopping for floors simple with a curated product selection. Their philosophy is to help you find what you need, not to overwhelm you with thousands of choices and substitutes. What they leave out of their selection, it's just as important as what they put in. Empire's product team exhaustively combs through thousands of product samples each year to find the perfect styles. And check out Empire's virtual floor designer. It's a great way to see how new floors will look in any space. It's easy. Just snap a picture and instantly see how new floors will look in your room. Schedule a free in-home estimate today. All listeners receive a $350 off discount when they use the promo code CHGO. Restrictions do apply. See EmpireToday.com/CHGO for details. 588-2300 Empire
Today. Bad. Give it a shot. All right. People were obviously wanting us to get to Crochet news. We needed to go talk about Juan Soto because that's probably the first thing that's going to need to happen at the winter meetings. I think it's pretty unlikely that anything happens at a large scale before Soto. You guys want to jump in and disagree, or is Soto the first big blockbuster move, or maybe Crochet's in a 3-wheel deal going to the north side, and Nico Horner's a Mariner? What do we think?
No, I think you're right. I think Soto probably has to happen first because of the kinds of teams that are involved in Crochet rumors are the same kinds of teams that are bidding for Juan Soto. It is the Mets and the Dodgers and these big market teams. Maybe the Orioles aren't going to go after Soto, but they might want to get Corbin Burns, and Corbin Burns might not be able to sign with the Mets until they know what Juan Soto is going to do, right? So, I mean, yes, you can make a case for every single one of those teams and say, oh, the Mets have so much money, they probably want Soto and Burns, but these dominoes do have to fall for something to happen sometimes, and they might fall quickly because, we've seen the pitching market has been very, very active and very, very expensive. So if a team's like, all right, that's it, we're not paying $1 gajillion, take the prospects and give us the ace. Maybe that's what it takes to get it done. But I do think that some dominoes are probably going to have to fall, starting with Juan Soto.
Yeah, I think Soto's going first, and then I don't even know when we're going to get Garrett Crochet finality. I hope it's soon. I hope it's within the time that Vinny's down there in Dallas, but with this whole thing and with our whole experience last year with Cease, which is a totally different thing, and somebody's honking outside. How rude. I just think that I can't put myself in that Garrett Crochet will be sent to another team before next Thursday is done. I hope so. That'll be the best thing in the world because we can have some finality and we can see where the White Sox are from next year, because that's pretty much our last big move of the offseason. I mean, our only move of the offseason, because I don't think Luis Robert Jr. is going to get traded. And the signing of Austin Slater was not a big move. It was just a move.
Hey, it was just their top target. Maybe it's not going to be their biggest move, but that was their top target. there could have been 16 teams in on Austin Slater. He didn't say that, but there could have been. And I have to disagree with our guy Beefloaf in the chat saying smash that like button. We're about 20 minutes in. We're 1/3 of the way in. We got to earn it in the last 2/3. Okay. The first 1/3 was pretty sloppy. So I understand holding back that like button. I do want to kind of narrow down the when, though, with this. And Riffic asks, if Vinny is right about the Soto signing, does it mess up the winter meetings like it did last year with Soto? That's why I feel like they're trying to avoid this. And Scott Boras is very intent on announcing a deal come Monday. So I do think it could mess up the winter meetings because I think, especially with Crochet, it's going to be dependent on if teams are going to be tying up money with Juan Soto. And especially if the Yankees sign Soto, I think that increases the Red Sox interest in getting Juan Soto, A, because they miss out on Soto, B, Crochet could be part of where that money would go to, and he's a way to just neutralize the guy that's going to be there for 15 years. So I do think that it could mess up the winter meetings. That's why I think it goes Monday. And I think that it is very possible that we get a Crochet deal during the winter meetings. Vinny, since you did say it was going to probably be later half of the winter meetings, do you think we get a Crochet deal by what's your last day? The 11th, Wednesday?
Yeah, they'll leave on Wednesday afternoon after the Rule 5 draft. But listen, I think Soto could happen earlier in the winter meetings. I just think it'll happen by the end of. I'd be less inclined to say a Crochet deal gets done just because what we just talked about, the dominoes that have to happen, and also there's no deadline. The winter meetings is not a deadline, right? That being said, it kind of seems like everything is a little further down the field right now than it was a year ago, right? I mean, we've heard all these meetings with Soto have happened. They're done. The offers are on the table. It's negotiating time. I don't know if we were there with Ohtani at this point in the calendar last year. So that happens early, and then everybody else gets going. You've got, gets down there talking to people. It is a different situation than it was with Cease. Not entirely different, but a little different because the money commitment is so small, but maybe the prospect commitment is bigger. We'll see. But usually a trade makes more sense to get done at the winter meetings because they're in the same building, right? But I don't know. I think it'll probably go past the winter meetings, but maybe certainly not all the way till March like it took Dylan Cease last year.
I think I'm just rethinking this. That whole thing that Scott Boras does at the winter meetings, that whole rhyme session you were alluded to, Vinny, I think that now he probably will hold out to Soto so he can make his dumbass little rhyme speech and say, teams with no dough will not get the services of Juan Soto. No?
No. He's going to be like, the team with the most dough got Soto. He's a Met. Like,
I'm sure he's got. I think he's got one.
Rhyme.
He's got one for each. I'm sure he's got an envelope with each in there, and he knows what's going on.
Yeah, I don't think he wants that to I think he's looking for a win. I don't think he had many wins last year, and I think he's looking to cash in big with the Soto deal because it is the easiest sell.
Oh my God,
he's 20. He's 26.
The haters last year for Scott Boras had a win this whole last winter, and they're like, "Oh man, Scott Boras is done. His clients didn't get signed at all." Now you get the Blake Snell signing early in this winter. If you get Juan Soto signing for upwards of $700 million, guaranteed Scott Boras is back. And I don't know why anybody else has any other agent, especially if you're a top player, than this guy, because he is a guy who brings money to his clients and gets the last cent for each one of his clients. So, yeah, he's back. If he signs this deal before the winter meetings ends and it's up there at $700 million, cash your chips in.
There's a very easy way for Scott Boras to sell Juan Soto, and it's just asking, hey, what'd you do for your 26th birthday? And you could say, oh, I played in game 1 and game 2 of the World Series and had 3 hits, 1 homer, and was walked 2 times. And one of them was an intentional walk as well. Is the Drake Foss thing real? Shane Bieber back to Cleveland on a 1-year deal? Seismic. Yes. It's true. Oh, how much money did he get? I was interested in that one. We could talk about that. That's not super seismic, at least for the Garrett Crochet stuff, but it is interesting because I thought that was one that, hey, maybe the White Sox could take a chance on with our friend Shane Bieber, but I guess not. He's still a Guardian. All right, with the Crochet news though, where do we think he likely ends up is still the question. I think it has to be motivated, and obviously a domino, at least with Soto, has to fall. But do we feel like there's anyone leading the pack now? Robert Murray of Fanside, it says he's heard that the Cubs are interested. Clyde in the chat was saying something that, do you still see Garrett Crochet going to the Cubs? I don't, but I mean, are anything from, the Cubs are interested, does that get you excited?
I think the Cubs make sense. I think they're a team that could use him, and I think they're a team that has the prospects to bring him in. But I think the Cubs want to get rid of some of that outfield logjam, whether it's Bellinger or somebody else. I think they'd love to trade one of their veteran outfielders to let their outfield prospects play. And I think they're probably not going to make any move until they get that done. So my thought would be that they're probably not the favorite. I think Boston strikes as probably the team that would be the most aggressive, and they have a deep enough prospect pool that like they can trade their 6th and 7th best prospects, but it still looks pretty good from the White Sox end. I don't know if that's what's going to happen, but in terms of a team that appears to be the most aggressive to want to get something done, and this is a great way to do it, I think Boston probably is the team that I'm looking at the most right now, but it doesn't mean that they're going to be the one to end up making the offer that Chris Getz wants to see. We'll see.
It makes more sense from an outside observer looking into what the Cubs have for them to trade for Garrett Crochet and work from your plethora of actual position player prospects than clearing the decks with the Seiya Suzuki and the Cody Bellingers of their team, and then depending on an Owen Casey to come and provide the power that you need in the outfield. So this is the last year of Jed Hoyer's contract, I believe. And so if he's depending on Owen Casey to come here and being Jackson Merrill off the bat and giving you that instant offensive production, I think he's going to be sorely disappointed when he doesn't. And I think also the player is going to be put a lot of pressure onto himself because he was stayed here because he is an offensive guy and he needs to produce immediately for this Cubs team. And if he doesn't, if he has regular rookie struggles, there will be some problems for him. I think that you can't just be holding on to these guys and prospect hugging like the Cubs are doing. You need to go and make a move. And like I said, if you can't get run production, you need to have run prevention. And what better thing is than to get a person like Garrett Crochet at the top of your rotation for run prevention every 5th game.
Prospect hugging. You get to, look at MLB.com's, top 30 list, and you get to look at all your prospects and say, "Ooh, we have that guy in Iowa. Ooh, we have that guy in South Bend. Ooh, we have that guy as a Smoky."
And the thing is, too, and we've talked about this, and I know Owen Casey and their other prospects are not as high as what Yohan Moncada and Michael Kopech were back as Boston players. But if I would look at that and say that was pretty much the last time somebody traded 2 highly thought of prospects for a guy like Sale, look how it turned out. Like, Sale is still awesome. They won World Series with Sale. He was great for them. And while Yohan Moncada and Michael Kopech didn't work out for the White Sox. So I would look at that as an example of prospects are suspect until they show you otherwise. But a guaranteed lefty stud at the top of your rotation, that can put you over the top.
Absolutely. We brought that up yesterday. The fact that, we're doing this 7 years later or 8 years later. I think actually this is the 8th year anniversary of Chris Sale being traded. December 6th, 2016 was when he was dealt for Yohan Moncada and Michael Kopech. But it does feel like, everyone learned a lesson from what Boston and the Cubs gave up for Jose Quintana and Chris Sale to spark this White Sox rebuild. And remember at 2020, I forget if it was true or not, but there's a memory seared in my brain that Jeff Passan said the White Sox were going to win like 4 World Series in this decade. And I hate him so much for saying that. But like it didn't come true. Like Eloy Jimenez was not that guy. Dylan Cease was, but even on the Kopech side, they didn't get anything from him, possibly. On the Moncada side, he was just bought out for $5 million. Like, it didn't end up working. And it does feel like there has been a huge overreaction. And, that world 8 years ago, when you're getting the top prospect, or top hitting prospect and top pitching prospect does seem far away. However, there is some smoke, and maybe the smoke is making me dizzy and hallucinating and falling over. But it does seem like there is some smoke that is at least it's getting back to that energy, at least with Crochet. It does seem possible that maybe not with Boston, you get their top prospect in Roman Anthony, but you still get a top 10 prospect in Major League Baseball with Robinson, or I think that's his name. Now, all the names are blurring into my head, but we got to take a break, and Herb's got to give a name into your head about neon here on the CHGO White Sox podcast.
Started by two college friends, Saturday Neon makes officially licensed collegiate logo LED neon signs perfect for your home, office, dorm room, fan cave, or bar. Check out their new Essentials collection featuring almost 50 of the biggest schools across the country and counting, and 50 of the biggest countries almost 50 of the biggest schools across the country and counting for only $75. No better way to represent your favorite Big Ten school. Unlike traditional neon, these LED signs won't break or shatter, but still give you that classic uniform glow that you know and love. LEDs last up to 100,000 hours, so you'll be enjoying the sign for years to come. Super easy to install using provided hardware and 3M command strips and low voltage. They don't get hot and are always safe to touch. The perfect gift for this upcoming holiday season. CHGO has used Saturday Neon to get our studio signs, and they look great. Use code CHGO for 10% off your order at SaturdayNeon.com.
Thank you, Herb. We also want to let you know about our friends over at Shady Rays. Get ready for the season ahead with quality shades built to last. Our friends at Shady Rays have you covered with premium polarized shades that won't break the bank. Shady Rays is an independent sunglasses company offering a world-class product rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. Their shades have durable frames and crystal clear optics, making them the perfect choice for outdoor adventures. And hey, I'll even close the read. I'll look at you right now and say, these are the best sunglasses I've ever owned. And they're not expensive. You get 35% off with code CHGO. And they are durable. I have had them for 2.5 years. And do you know how many sunglasses I've broken in my life? The fact that these things are still around is a miracle. And I am so happy with our Shady Rays. It's very easy to come onto this podcast and give an ad about using them because I use them every single day. They're great sunglasses. They're durable. They're fantastic, and there's a ton of styles to choose from. So head over to shadyrays.com. Use code CHGO for 35% off polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. We do have news from Jeff Passan of ESPN. Right-hander Shane Bieber and the Cleveland Guardians are in agreement on a 1-year, $14 million contract that includes a $16 million player option for 2026. Shane Bieber's deal with the Guardians will pay him a $10 million salary in 2025. The $16 million player option includes a $4 million buyout. If Bieber returns healthy, he will hit free agency again next winter as a 30-year-old and be in line for a significant long-term contract. He is coming off of Tommy John, but the Guardians might be getting a little bit oh, look at that. Ooh, hey, you could, it's so real you can touch it. But yeah, Bieber now strengthening the Guardians rotation, but the Guardians rotations got weak because they lost Matthew Boyd. What are they going to do?
I do not know. I mean, when he's going to be available at 2025 in the middle of the year, I mean, that's a great deal for him. Like sitting out, rehabbing, and then coming back in the middle of the year for the stretch drive of Cleveland Guardians AL Central Championship. I'm in for it.
Yeah. All right. Any more on Crochet? I do have my updated top power rankings. I think the Red Sox are most in line to acquire him. I think the Mets are second. I think that could flip with my third team, the Yankees. I think it really does depend on Soto. I think if the Red Sox get Soto, that probably increases the Yankees want to get Garrett Crochet. I think if the Yankees get Soto, that frees up the Mets' ability to go out and get Garrett Crochet. So I go Red Sox, Mets, Yankees. 4, I have the Orioles. 5, I have the Cubs. You can put those two together because it does feel like they have the prospects. And the Cubs have 8 top 100 prospects. I think the Orioles have 7 top 100 prospects, 6 top 100 prospects, at least 2 top 20 prospects right now. The Orioles can get it done. It's just, again, do you want to offer up those players? And at 6, I'll throw Philadelphia because it does feel like Dave Dombrowski is a madman enough. Do they need the pitching? Maybe not. They're giving a ton of money to Taijuan Walker, and they do have 5 starting pitchers. But Crochet would really bolster that rotation. I think those are the top 6 teams that could acquire him. I think the list is probably out to like 11 teams that I wouldn't be surprised to acquire him. But like, there's some real outside shots. Like, do I think that AJ Preller and Jerry DiPoto are calling Chris Getz about Garrett Crochet? Of course.
That's their job, right? That's what they got to do. I mean, yeah.
And I think also that I was watching and listening to the Sox Machine people over there, and James Fegan brought up a good point. He said there might be, the 3-team trade thing where teams that don't have the prospect capital, especially the position prospect capital to acquire a Garrett Crochet, might be checking in to get Garrett Crochet through a 3-team trade. And when I heard that, and James didn't say the name necessarily, he didn't scream it out, I heard the Braves, because we know that Alex Anthopoulos checked in last year on Dylan Cease and said that price was way too high for his liking. But I'm still thinking that there's availability for him, especially you don't have Spencer Strider this year, to work with the 3rd team and say, hey, you need this player. We have a surplus of these guys. And Garrett Crochet is looking for, well, in the midseason, he was looking for extension. We know that Alex Anthopoulos and the Braves have signed their young stars to long-term extensions. And so that would be a team that I would say would be a sneaky team that would maybe inquire and maybe be Garrett Crochet's landing spot.
Let's move now into what the White Sox possibly could do outside of Garrett Crochet. I do feel like it is very possible, probably like 60% chance that he gets dealt at the winter meetings. I think it is possible, especially thinking that the Soto deal gets done at least by Monday. All right, let's move into the next topic, and that is going to be, we saw the White Sox sign Erick Fedde at last year's winter meetings. You saw it because you were there in Nashville. You got to be at the Gaylord Hotel and take it all in, the Erick Fedde signing. There is another pitcher that went to the KBO, posted a sub-3 ERA, and is now a free agent. Do we think the White Sox are going to be in on the? Is it Rob Hart, or am I just thinking of
WBBM guy?
Rob Hart. I think I'm wrong on that. I don't think it's Rob Hart. My bad. Kyle Hart. Do we think Kyle Hart is going to be a Chicago White Sox? I know you know nothing about him. He's 32 years old, a left-hander, 6'5", 200 pounds, was a 19th round pick in 2016 out of the University of Indiana, was in the Red Sox system for a long time, then went to Seattle in 2023. Didn't get past Major League Baseball in 2023 in AAA PCL, a 4.58 in Tacoma, but then a 2.69 ERA over in the KPO with the NC Dinos, the place Erick Fedde won his Cy Young. So what do we think of, Kyle Hart? Do you think they're going to dip in? Robert Murray said 16 teams were interested. So I was like, oh, could include the White Sox.
I mean, it's not just results. I think that looking to see if they just kind of try to replicate, hey, guy went over, had a good year in Korea. Now let's bring him over here and turn him into something at the trade deadline. That is only going to happen if they see the behind the scenes work that Erick Fedde did, right? The idea that he revamped his entire pitching style and his arsenal, and it worked so well. And they saw something in the ground ball thing that they thought would translate, right? Every box was able to be checked by Erick Fedde for what the White Sox were looking for. And it turned out they did exactly what they wanted to do with him and turned him into something, however exciting that might be to you, the White Sox fan, at the trade deadline. Now, I think that is what they're going to be looking for, not just, hey, a guy that had success in Korea. I mean, if you've got 16 teams calling in on him, maybe the investment becomes a lot different than what it was with Erick Fedde when they were apparently only up against one or two other squads, right? So I think, they're not going to overpay, obviously, for someone like that. Fedde ended up being a real bargain for them. And I think that's the kind of thing you're going to want to see is them getting a player like that on a relatively small deal. If that player doesn't exist, or that contract, more importantly, doesn't exist, then I don't think you're going to see the White Sox do anything like that. But remember, whether it's on the pitching side with Brian Bannister or the hitting side now with Ryan Fuller, they're looking for those guys that are reclamation projects that they can turn into something else at the trade deadline. So yeah, maybe there's a veteran free agent signed by the White Sox at the winter meetings next week, but I wouldn't expect it to be anyone terribly of a marquee name or anything like that. I keep kind of pounding the table on they need a shortstop, and it would make sense to have a veteran, kind of a little bit of a bridge there to Colson Montgomery for when he comes up later next season. But that's the kind of thing, that's the kind of player rather that you're going to need to be looking for when it comes to the White Sox.
And I think too that there's a difference between him and Eric Fetty. Eric Fetty was a first-round draft pick out of UNLV when he was drafted out of college. And this guy, I think, was 19th, 20th round when he was drafted out of Indiana. And Eric Fetty had a whole major league career, like 5 years of starting with the Washington Nationals to varying and usually mediocre to bad results. And then, as Vinny said, he worked on some things, and we heard confirmation from Brian Bannister working on the pitches that he revamped and went over the KBO and had those results of being the Cy Young version of Cy Young of that league. Yes, this guy has similar stats, and this league is a copycat league, so they can see the success that Eric Fetty had from what would be like a little higher AA, but not AAA league that the KBO is. But I think that it is good for the White Sox to dip their toe in it. But also, if there's 19 teams in there, that price might be really prohibitive. I don't know if it would be more than the $7 million that Eric Fetty signed for last year, or for $15 million total. But I don't think this guy is of Eric Fetty's caliber. If he is, I would say he's 32 also, or 33 years old. A little long in the tooth. I don't think anybody's going to be coming for Kyle or Rob Hart.
It's pitching too. Pitching. Look how much pitching is costing teams this winter. This guy might be in the right place at the right time and get himself a nice deal just because he's a pitcher, and that's what starting pitching is going for this winter in this market specifically.
What about Bret Hart?
He screwed himself.
What about the band Hart?
And then Sean's, of course. Sean, I think you're good for one eject button an episode where you just disappear after 30 seconds. Nope, can't hear you.
The band Hart is weirdly. There you go. I kind of can hear you. It's
so
oh my god, it's the computer.
Man, Sean, this is a classic.
Like
this is the
Are you serious?
Yes, you sound like a computer. Just drop and call back. We'll get you back.
I'm so mad.
No, don't be mad. We're good. We're fine. But the band Hart, weirdly enough, my fiance Courtney likes Fleetwood Mac and bands like that, and she's like, I don't like Hart. I'm like, how do you not like Hart? They're a better Fleetwood Mac. They have better singers.
Well, they rock harder.
Singers.
They're much harder. They're a much harder band. Much different kind of music. Yeah.
And you know that Chuck Swirsky, who is the Bulls play-by-play man, went to high school with those people in Seattle.
Really?
Yes, he did.
How about that?
Yeah.
They're sisters.
They are.
Yes.
And what's the other one?
Nancy Wilson.
Nancy.
Yeah.
Are they Chuck's sisters?
No.
Yeah, but I mean, I love Barracuda. Who does not love that song? What other songs do they sing?
Great song. Speaking of Chuck Swirsky, I believe that was brought up earlier in the chat today. Oh yeah, Connor Smith said once at Radio Nepal we interviewed Chuck Swirsky, and the first 2 times we tried, he was muted. By the 3rd time we finally got him, he was pissed. And now
I don't like this.
Back to Sean. Let's see. Let's get Sean back on here.
I get it. You know what? I get it from Chuck Swirsky. I would be pissed too. I'm pretty irked right now. Let me tell you that. Oh, I'm gonna blow a gasket. And mainly the first time I fell out. No.
God. Oh, it still sounds terrible. There's crackling. It's like you're sitting by a solo stove. Not a.
I'll go sit by my Christmas tree and plug right into the Wi-Fi. I'm so.
All right, Sean's gone again. I don't know what, usually it's my Wi-Fi that at least freezes up 1 time or 2 times, but his today is just acting like a jerk.
Mercy. Yeah. We can continue some White Sox talk. I know where this is going to go if you want to keep the show rolling. Unless you want to just keep making fun of Sean, that's fine.
I like making fun of Sean, actually, but
I don't like making fun of Sean. This is
back.
mad. Is this working? I unplugged my mic.
It is working.
I'm going to send
right now.
Such a disgusting email to Yeti. I am so mad with their microphones right now. I'm fine with Bret Hart and the excellence of execution. That's fine with me. That's great. Let's sign him. The big thing with Kyle Hart, 4 games in Major League Baseball. 3 games started, 11 total Major League innings. I think the reason why people are interested is because he's so cheap, and it's probably such an easy gamble. So I think, or at least a cheap gamble, right? You're playing $5 slots here. This isn't, a $10,000 Dana White blackjack hand, right? I mean, you're playing, $5 on slots with grandma. So I will, I think Kyle Hart won't be a White Sox. I do think Chris Flexen will be KBO legend, but that's a different story. All right. I don't know. I really lost all my steam. We have to talk about something for 15 more minutes. If there is a position the White Sox are going to sign, am I wrong to think, though, that it would be a starter? Because the one thing we have heard is innings eater, maybe a shortstop. But if there is one position in mind for free agent wise that Chris Getz is looking to acquire, which one do you think it is?
I think starting pitching is probably the top of their list because that rotation is so young. And I think that there's, their bullpen is probably going to be fairly patchwork again, like it was last year with a lot of maybe minor league signings and guys that came to spring training. You got to protect that in some way, right? Even if it's not going to be, a star closer that you could lean on a huge number of times, you still got to protect all these guys in some fashion. You saw how much they leaned on mop-up guys last year, like Schuster and Chad Kuhl, right? To get some of those innings. They need somebody to get innings, not because they don't trust or believe in the Cannons and the Martins and all those other young guys, but whether Kai Busch comes up and makes another start, whether Drew Thorpe comes back and is healthy. It's just that they need some veteran presence that Will Venable can throw out there every fifth day and go, oh, at least I know this guy can go 6 innings. At least I know this guy can go and get me to the back end of the bullpen a little bit here. So again, this is not something where they're going to go sign a starting pitcher to put him over the edge or to get him competing in the AL Central, but they're going to need some sort of protection and in any fashion for the rest of this pitching staff. And a veteran is the way to do that.
I would agree with Vinny, but just to be a contrarian, I would say that they need a middle infielder because right now you probably have Lenny Sosa going to second base and Brooks Baldwin and a bunch of other shortstops there at the position. So I would say middle infielder, not necessarily just a shortstop. Yeah, they're not going to be at the Hassan Kims of the world or the Willie Adamases of the world, but a veteran that can just solidify the position so they don't have to put all the eggs in the young person's baskets and don't have to go with that. So I would say like a middle tier or lower tier shortstop that's a veteran that can pick the ball up and not necessarily be a great hitter, because if he was, he wouldn't be in the White Sox price range.
Dude, did we not talk about Nick Maton? Come on. You have the best of both worlds with Maton and Amaya, because Amaya can pick the ball up, and Maton, if you just look at 2024, he hit the hell out of the ball in 4 at-bats. So, if you're looking at 4 at-bats and Amaya's ability to pick up the ball, I think you got a shortstop right there. I do think Drake brings up an interesting point. First base step should be a necessity. I don't know if it is. I think the White Sox are looking to see how the winter meetings play out. There was a rumor that included Andrew Vaughn going to Seattle. I think that was probably the reason why Seattle said no, because he's not that good. But the thing that I do believe that the White Sox would do with Andrew Vaughn, if they do keep him for the 2025 year, is play him. We've seen 600 plus plate appearances in 2023 and 2024. I think they like his ability to hit right-handers and left-handers, and I think that would be their selling point on Andrew Vaughn, as this is a first baseman that can make really good contact, hopefully with Ryan Fuller's direction, take walks, and can hit both right-handers and left-handers. So I think that's what you're trying to work on and rebuild Vaughn's image. If they could sell him by the winter meetings, maybe, but I think they're trying to fix him before they sell him.
Absolutely. I think that's the reason they picked it up. They gave him the contract offer, right? And first base depth, they could have spent a meager $2.5 million on Gavin Sheets and had first base depth. I don't think they're interested in adding first base depth because they could have had it and they chose not to. I don't see Andrew Vaughn as getting traded this offseason. I think the choice that they just made was to keep him and say there's still something that he can do that makes him look like that number 3 overall pick in the draft. And when we see that, then we can trade him for something that will help us down the road. If they trade him right now, that's what are they getting? What are they getting? It's more beneficial to the White Sox to wait and see if Ryan Fuller and Marcus Thames and whoever else can turn Andrew Vaughn into something that is more like what everyone hoped that he would be rather than what he's been so far in the major leagues.
Don't they already have first base depth? I mean, Miguel Rojas. Oh, goodness gracious, I wish we had Miguel Rojas. I mean, Brian Ramos could be a first base backup for the White Sox. I mean, you play third base, I think you can probably play first base pretty easily. And Ron Washington says it's damn difficult. But I think you can definitely have him be the backup to Andrew Vaughn. I agree with Vinny. I don't think they're going to be trading Andrew Vaughn for literal pennies on the dollar this offseason to get what? To get the lowest level of minor leaguers, not even a lottery ticket, just the actual warm body for Andrew Vaughn. They're going to see if the tutelage of Ryan Fuller and Marcus Thames comes through for him and he can unlock something so he can be at least an average American League first base hitter in his 5th year of playing Major League Baseball. But I get what you're saying with first base depth, but I think they already have a bunch of people on the team and in the minor leagues that could be behind Andrew Vaughn.
I mean, I don't know about. I mean, there's one in the minors. You have Elko. Maybe Tim Elko finds his way to Chicago. But I mean, the one name that hasn't been brought up, Lenin Sosa, played some first base. I'm just saying, the guy had 40 hits in 102 at bats in the Venezuelan Winter League. I mean, he's the Barry Bonds down there. He's playing shortstop and third. So I think he's talented enough to maybe play first. So let's give Lenin a try. But yeah, I think they're just going to give Vaughn as much run as possible. I mean, what's there to lose? They lost 121 games. Jay Zolowski asked me yesterday, like, what's the worst that can happen this year? Like, maybe they win 123, but we were kind of shocked that they even lost that many. Just baseball, it should be a little bit less fickle.
Can I ask you this question, guys?
So rude. Yes.
Would you be surprised if they bring Nicky Lopez back for a lower contract than the $6 million he had before?
No, I think that's a perfect. I mean, you talked about people who could pick it up. They trusted him enough to play shortstop. He's put up some really great defensive years at second base. So I don't think Lopez is out of the question, but I think that's probably a signing that is more Elvis Andrus-esque. I think that is closer to spring training because Nicky's probably like looking at every single spring postseason contender. It's just like spring training invite. I mean, I could take a major league deal with the White Sox for spring training invite. Hey, come on. You want me to play second base? Yeah, I think Nicky's going to probably try to get out of this spot, not because, he doesn't like Chicago. It's where we could do Howard Enkin commercials the whole year. I think it's mainly just because of the opportunity. So I think it's probably more Elvis Andrus, not even Tommy Pham-esque. I don't think he waits that long, but I think it's probably Elvis Andrus. He's showing up first day of spring training or second day of spring training. But I think Lopez is possible, but I don't think we'd know that until, March. Vinny, what say you?
Yeah, I think it's definitely realistic. You bring up Elvis Andrus. That makes total sense, right? A guy who they brought in and really liked for his veteran presence. And they were like, all right, bring him back. He's not doesn't have a job yet. Go ahead and bring him back. We hear a lot we have heard a lot from players over the last few years that a major league contract is maybe not the easiest thing to come by, especially for guys of a certain who are at a certain level of production, right? And certainly Nicky, while he had a very good defensive season last year, the offense was not really anything to write home about. If he's a guy who is still looking for a major league job in a couple of months, it makes total sense. That kind of player is exactly the guy who, in my mind, the White Sox would want to say, come here, you'll start for as long as you can until Colson comes up. And then then it's time for Colson to take over. So I think the expectation is that Colson will be here at some point during the summer. And so I don't think they need somebody to necessarily, even really try to build trade value for. I mean, that would be a plus, but they just need somebody who can really kind of handle the position, because I think some of the youngsters they got right now are just not really doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the one name and position we haven't talked about, I think outfield could be a spot that they do end up signing or taking a shot at. A player that I'm interested in, I wouldn't give my stamp of approval or endorsement in, but I think there's some interest, at least around baseball, in is Dylan Carlson, former Cardinal and former Ray. He is only 26. And when you go to the Fangraphs free agent sorter for outfielders, here are the list of free agents under 30. And this is the main reason why Juan Soto is going to get $700 million. Juan Soto and Dylan Carlson are the only 26-year-olds. Eloy Jimenez and Brian De La Cruz are the only 28-year-olds. And then Alex Verdugo, Ahmed Rosario, Austin Hayes, Jake Bowers, and our guy Gavin Sheets, along with Edward Olivares, are 29. So it's just a very young player that's hitting the free agent market. I think that it's a player that gives you a ton of flexibility too. If you're able to somehow trade Andrew Benintendi, if you're somehow able to trade Luis Robert, this player can play left or center. This player can play right. They're a switch hitter, so you're really not stuck to a platoon as well. So that way you could work in Slater, you could work in Dominic Fletcher, my guy Cal Mitchell as well. So I think that that's a guy, or at least position, that I wouldn't be surprised if they go get more outfield depth because of the possibility of Robert or Benintendi being traded.
Yeah, just like Soto, he turned 26 this October, and Brian Fuller, I think, said the same thing, kind of where Brian Bannister said, like, he's trying to revamp people's careers or where they used to be. I don't know if Dylan Carlson ever was the guy that the Cardinals ever thought he was. That's why he's a free agent right now. But he was a highly thought of prospect when he did come up. So I'm sure they're looking for something where either they're trying to refine his lefty or righty stroke, or like Jose Valentin did late in his career, where you just stop doing one of the two switch hitting roles, and you just become a left-handed hitter all the time, or you become a right-handed hitter all the time, because it's really hard to be a good hitter, firstly, in the major leagues, and even more hard to become a good and consistent switch hitter.
Yeah. We'll see what their plans look like. I mean, I think that, I don't think Robert or Benintendi are getting traded this offseason. I think, you got to build the value on Robert. I think Benintendi's got too much money and time left on that contract. So I think those two spots in the outfield are pretty much well spoken for. That leaves right field, and they just signed a right fielder to a major league contract, which, they haven't handed out too many of those in this offseason, certainly, and then last offseason either. So, we'll see what their plans are, but I don't know. And then you got Dominic Fletcher, who they traded for just a year ago. So it could be getting crowded out there in right field, not necessarily in an exciting way, right? There's a bunch of players that I think a lot of fans are like, who cares if any of them don't get playing time? But I think they probably would be unlikely to really load up on outfielders when they already have a bunch. They got Corey Jokes, they got Zach DeLoach, they got guys. So we'll see what happens. But I think left field and center field are a little spoken for right now, and it makes the playing time kind of harder to come by.
Yeah, I think the main efforts of Getz this winter meetings will mainly come down to trades and seeing if he can move Robert or Crochet. I think it's unlikely they sign, a player like De La Cruz or the aforementioned Carlson, like I threw out there, but I wouldn't be surprised. I guess Drake Foss threw out, but Brian De La Cruz, I don't know if he's that interesting of a player. Obviously, when he hits the ball hard, he can send it a far way, but I don't think that there's a ton of contact skills there. And you can look at the rookie year and see an 8.2 walk percentage, but he never even got close to a 7 walk percentage in any other year after. And it's not even like his Ks spiked a massive amount after that. I just think he has an inability to make contact, and I don't really think that's an interesting player, especially with the lack of defensive upside. So I think Carlson at least gives you maybe a little bit more defensive upside, but I'm not sure. And the Fat Hips are throwing out any Rule 5 candidates to fill those spots. That's obviously going to be another huge part of Chris Getz's time down in Dallas. That's going to be taking place on Wednesday. I think very possible. There's a ton of names, both batter and hitter wise, that the White Sox could use. They need one final starting pitcher, we think, if we do think Sean Burke will make the rotation. So one more name wouldn't be surprising. And along with that, I think a hitter wouldn't be, out of the question. Bob Seymour's a left-handed first baseman that I would be interested in. Ryan Ward's a player I'd be interested in, another first baseman outfielder. And there's some players with some potential. Kai Rosario of the Twins, I think they would probably like also taking a player within the division. Hey, take that, Minnesota. So I think that there could be a batter pitcher. That's the different positions there. But yeah, we're thankfully at the end of this episode, so we can mercy kill it with the Die Hard read. Make sure you go over to allchgo.com/diehard to get more of this amazing content, exclusive content. Thankfully, Vinny is the one that does the writing up at allchgo.com, and it's much crisper, much cleaner. He doesn't even need an editor. So join allchgo.com/diehard. You get a shirt of your choice when you join up. You get access to all of the writing up at allchgo.com. You get access to our diehard Discord. We get to chat with our pals like Luke, who's in the chat, correcting me, thankfully, and keeping me on my toes. And you also get exclusive discounts to merch and events. We have 2 top shelf events coming up. One for the Bulls on Derrick Rose night, January 4th. The Bulls will be taking on the Knicks. Diehards get a $100 discount on that event. And then the Blackhawks one, I think they're playing the Carolina Hurricanes on January 20th. That's also a top shelf event. And I think that's the same discount for diehards. So go check that out at allchgo.com/diehard. For Vinnie Duber, our CHGO White Sox beat writer, for Herb Lawrence, our CHGO White Sox community leader, I'm Sean Anderson. Thank you to Lawrence Benedetto for producing the show. Goodbye.
We all silly like the mayor.